talk to you more about the concept of microsegmentation, a major trend that we're seeing. The importance of using software-defined wide area networking, SD-WAN, using software-defined perimeters and creating landing zones. 6 months ago, I was talking to some IT professionals. They specifically were network security professionals. And I said, day in and day out, what is it that you do? And they said, well, we create a lot of landing zones when it comes to the network. And I didn't know what landing zones meant. And they basically described it to me as this: whenever you have a resource that connects to the network, for example, a mobile phone, this is my mobile phone. The idea is that when it comes to networking, something enters the network or wants to connect to a network resource. And now what we do is we put that network resource, that web server, that mobile phone, that partner connection, whatever you want to talk about, into a specific zone. And now what you're doing is you are segmenting a network, not just by subnets, not just by virtual LANs, but you're segmenting by users now, much more granular. You're segmenting by applications, by application programming interface connections, by specific processes that my phone or a web server or something might implement. This allows us to get much more granular into the information that's being transmitted back and forth. This microsegmentation lays a major foundation for security. And that's one of the things I want to point out, is that so many people that I talk to say what we need are workers with deeper foundational understandings of things such as segmentation, of SD-WAN, and how to architect sophisticated networks. And it kind of goes along with this idea of the concert metaphor. Years and years ago, when I first started going to concerts, rock and roll concerts, you're looking at a rock and roll concert that I attended. It used to be you got your ticket and you could walk into that concert and you just ran up to the front of the stage or wherever you wanted to go, and there was no problem. Well, that led to so many problems. This was in the 1970s. By the 1970s and 80s, there were people who were getting hurt and even killed in concerts because they were crushed. The reason I bring this up is when it comes to network security, we can't just say, well, that network traffic made it through the firewall, it must be secure. It doesn't work that way anymore. We have way too many attacks happening and our resources are far too distributed. What we need now is the equivalent of what happens in concerts today. I get my ticket, I go to a specific seat, and I'm monitored very carefully. If I try to leave that seat or go elsewhere, an usher or somebody takes me back and puts me where I belong. This is happening more and more when it comes to security. Another analogy I use is, this is an old Land Cruiser that I have, a Toyota Land Cruiser. I think the best four-wheel drive vehicle ever made. This is a very old one. It's almost as old as I am. Made in the 1970s. I noticed when I was working on the electrical system, you're looking here at the fuse box, I noticed that this concept of isolating certain circuits and carefully monitoring them and doing segmentation has been applied in the auto industry for decades. It's even more sophisticated now. The IT profession, as I've noticed over the last year, is catching on to these ideas of segmenting traffic, of identifying circuits of data and making sure that people are secure. And so what we have here is that oftentimes when we hear about concepts such as north and south traffic or east and west traffic in a data center or in the cloud, it creates a much more sophisticated understanding of security and how to monitor. This graphic, what I've tried to do is show how it's not just a firewall that protects us. They can help us, but more and more traffic is connecting not through firewalls anymore, but directly from one resource to the other. And the answer really becomes then microsegmentation, but also the process and the concept of monitoring.